Welcome to another edition of the Presale Pulse, where we talk about everything real estate in the Fraser Valley. I'm joined with one of the hardest working principals in our space, Brittany Reimer. I'm Ryan Lalonde, and we're really pumped to be here today.
Excited to be here. I've got a few questions as to why it's taken so long to get me on the Presale Pulse, but we don't have to discuss that here. We can offline that.
I think our viewers would love to understand a little bit more, and if we wanted to spend some time, listen.
That's true.
I'll open book this.
For sure.
Yeah.
We'll take 5 minutes at the end and we can judge from there.
It is nice you are in this seat, though.
Excited to be here. Couldn't be happier. For those that know me, I think they know how excited I get just talking about real estate in the Fraser Valley, talking about presale in the Fraser Valley. And this is my jam. Yeah. I love it.
And then there's a camera involved.
So, it changes things just a little bit. I'm on the record, but, hopefully I can stay on track. Today we're going to chat about some really exciting topics, one being the firestorm that is the Fraser Valley market, followed by the presale market, just as hot as the resale market has been over the last 30 days. And lastly, we'll wind it up with some market data on Fraser Valley stats, in addition to some trending topics, specifically in the Fraser Valley.
And as you know, the Presale Pulse is all about recapping both the resale and the presale marketplace. This edition is Fraser Valley, so we're going to be talking about everything that's happened on the other side of the Fraser. I think for us, our goal, we're going to be hitting on anything that's trending in the industry, some of that gossip, and of course, some of the great projects that have found their way into the marketplace over the last 30 days. We're also excited about the new format. As you know, this is not Susanna Goncalves.
I know. It's tough shoes to follow.
Yeah. And all of this was centered around the notion that we really wanted to get these video segments down into more manageable chunks. And so it's been wonderful to break the Fraser Valley up and make it its own episode as opposed to trying to incorporate it with Metro Vancouver. As always, though, there's a ton of great data that we're going to get into today. We're really excited about it. A lot of the commentary that has been provided asks us to go into more detail. Any information, additional points of interest that you might have around the data, please hit those links below. All of this information is shared. And whether you're looking to understand a market in a little bit more detail, or you're just looking for a trusted second opinion, we're very eager to help. So please reach out at any point. And I also just want to give a quick shout out to, of course, some of our key partners, our data partners. Urban Analytics, Michael and John, they do such a wonderful job at curating. And then, of course, Altus. These guys are top notch, and we're very appreciative of all the hard work that they do to set us up to have this type of conversation. I love the office rivalry that we have going on between downtown and FV. And no one, I think, takes more pride than you in how the Fraser Valley is performing. Every time that we're on a group call together, it's just, you can feel the energy and the pride that you have about what's coming out of that neighborhood.
Agreed. I think of all the competitions, the friendly competitions that we have and rivalries happening between offices, and I can say for the most part it feels like Fraser Valley is usually on the top of the podium there, but once in a while Greater Vancouver takes a run at it. One of the things you'll notice here is that the inventory month over month from October to November is down almost 15%, which has really been a true factor in that supply and demand conversation that I know we're having all the time around there being really that true lack of supply in the market and way too much demand for what is currently active in market.
And this is just compounded by the incredible surge of buyers in our market audience that is, maybe gravitating a little bit further east than they have in the past, primarily because they're not bound by the office today. And they're really, really embracing that new normal and thinking very differently about what a home purchase looks like. And so often we're noticing that early audiences, so that millennial and that Gen Z and that Gen X, all of them are searching for property in neighborhoods that wasn't previously part of that search criteria. Fraser Valley is one of the biggest benefactors of that change of perspective.
Absolutely. It's interesting because we're seeing trends happen in the Fraser Valley, such as I think of the acreage and the land trend that we're seeing, where we're seeing multi-generational families that are looking at buying land and building 2 dwellings on these type of properties. And I think that when we look at the single family market in particular, this is really what has surged that. I chat a lot with our resale partners in the Valley, and one of the things that is consistently coming up is just that fact that we're back to that market where we're seeing 15 offers on one single property. We're seeing subject-free offers out there, and how great that is obviously for that seller, but how frustrating that is being on the other side of that coin, which is a buyer. And I think that's why we've really seen a lack of supply as well. We think about the townhouse market and those buyers looking to take the equity that they have within their existing home and move up to that single family market, but not wanting to list without having something in hand to actually move to, such as a home that they know they can get into without having to play the risk of not being able to sell their property. So yeah, there's a lot of really interesting things happening. And I mean, the way that we see it right now is that it's continuing to forge forward through the month of December here, and there is no sign of things slowing down.
So let's talk HPI composite price just for a couple of seconds here. I want to pick up on what you just shared. The big highlight here is single family homes. But in general, if we take a step back and we look at the marketplace, we've seen a 0.7% increase from the month of October to the month of November. That's actually really, really big for just a 30-day period. I think what we're also noticing is that from November 2019 all the way through to November of 2020, it's a 7.5% increase. These are substantial gains in a marketplace that typically has not experienced this. And you have to factor in the notion that COVID shut most markets down for at least 3 to 4 months with big resets. And so it's interesting to think about what this year could have meant for both Metro Vancouver and for the Fraser Valley if we hadn't experienced the restrictions in the lockdown. The other major standouts are single family homes. They're up just over 11.5% in 12 months. Condos sitting at 4.5% increase. And then of course, townhouses up 5.5% increase. And when we look at the current sales ratios across all of those product types, it's hard to believe that this type of upward pressure is going to subside anytime soon.
Let's just touch on that a little bit, Ryan. The sales to listing ratios for all product types in the Fraser Valley is higher than we've historically ever seen. We're over 50% both on the single family market and the townhouse market, which is exciting. I mean, it's great to see this type of activity happening.
As our viewers know, sales to listing ratio is one of the best metrics that we can use to really understand supply, demand, and where we expect price to go over the next 30 to 60 days. And today we see single family sitting just over 54%. That's an incredibly active market. That's unusual for single family. We've only seen those types of values come out of attached product traditionally in the past. Condos are sitting at 27%. That seems to be more normalized and a little bit closer to some of the numbers that we've seen over the past 4 months. And then of course our townhouses, again, 53%. They continue to surge. They've been a big hitter for us over the last 3 months. It seems like that is going to continue to be the trend as the millennial and the Gen Z really shows up in interesting ways over the next 3 to 6 months.
Now jumping into the presale activity and what's happening in the presale market in the Fraser Valley. We saw 5 presale launches over the past 30 days. Not surprising, 2 being in Langley, Homestead by Castle Hill Homes and Crofton. And then as we head out to South Surrey, we saw an additional 2 project launches out there. Horizon by Apcon Group just on 16th Avenue and King George Highway, in addition to Holden Row, which is a project that came to market in the Grandview area. Not surprising, the amount of activity that those projects have seen over the last 30 days with, again, going back to some of those resale stats, the true lack of supply in the marketplace. And with some of these projects, such as Homestead, for example, they've got some move-in ready product. I mean, there's no doubt about it that product is going to be really, really appealing to those buyers who just cannot get their hand into the resale market right now due to the unprecedented demand.
Right. It does feel like our target audiences remain consistent with what we've seen over the last 90 days, right? A lot of millennials, a lot of Generation X, they're thinking differently. Many are considering additional space as a need for their family, second bedrooms and third bedrooms for offices. And in some cases, those 4-bedroom homes are really being driven by 30 to 35-year-old families that are looking for 2 workstations within the home, but still have 2 children. And so fascinating to see that some of the evolution that's happening. And what's really interesting is how so many of the developers are reacting quickly on the fly and repurposing product for demands that are very different to when these might have been designed just 12 to 18 months ago.
I can add to that, absolutely. I think one of the most popular trends right now is that 1,800 to 2,200 square foot townhome where, if we were talking about 24 months ago, this product was not in demand at all. And Ryan, you said it, it's the ability to have that home office, it's the ability to have that 4th bedroom and that additional space to have family stay with, or at least be able to have the opportunity to work from home. And in some cases, 2 offices.
Right, yeah.
Another exciting project on the horizon, Polygon's master plan community in Silverdale. Incredible community with over 3,000 acres of land there, a retail component. They've got transit orientated properties where you can actually link from this community down to West Coast Express. We don't see this very often in the Fraser Valley, and I definitely think this is something to be incredibly excited about. They're anticipating that this project is actually going to bring 40,000 new residents to this area, which will double the population of Mission. And this is really just the beginning of that trend that we're seeing on properties in Mission, Abbotsford, Chilliwack, etc.
I think what you and I have also really noticed over the last 60 days is just the amount of outreach that we've had from new development partners that are really trying to understand different marketplaces right now. Because there's all this new opportunity, you have these new buyer profiles, and many developers that are operating in established and in some cases new communities are really want to understand a little bit more about their audiences. And our advisory department has been overwhelmed in some cases with just the amount of new inquiries and how we can support that. I think that you nailed it though. When you think about Polygon's opportunity, you have infrastructure, you have rapid transit, and then of course you have community. And I think that's the magic place I think right now for the Fraser Valley. Anyone that's able to find that overlap in those spheres, I think is going to be really successful over the next 6 to 9 months as the new normal transitions back to the original normal, predated COVID. Communities like that are still going to thrive because not only can they account for the needs today, but we also think they're set up really well for the needs of tomorrow, being close in proximity to transit.
Rye, another community we've been tracking so closely in market is Plaza One, King George Hub. Just to see this community come to light again, I think over the last 2 months since their launch has been exciting. Reporting over 100 sales, incredible amount of momentum and activity there. And as far as we know, netting around $825 a square foot. I'm not sure whether that's gross or net, but also really exciting to see these type of numbers coming out of this marketplace.
Well, we're active on a variety of concrete offerings within the neighborhood right now. And so of course, we're doing our very best to understand that audience, understand pricing. That's going to inform us, we think in a really important way over the next 6 months to how we're shaping and maybe building some of the offerings that we expect to come into the market over the next 12 to 18. I think the other notable component is just where those buyers are coming from today, right? And it seems like in preliminary discussions that the majority are coming from within the neighborhood, and that's fascinating. We think that there's a real trend towards small format. We think that low aggregates, affordability, that's still the conversation that's being had in the PC. But the other notable interest that we have is to what degree can that trend continue as we move into the 2021, where we have some notable projects with incredible tier 1 developers launching in more investor-driven locations in the past that were traditionally more sought after, right? So we're talking about West Coquitlam, we're talking about Brentwood, we're talking about Richmond. And so we'll keep a close eye on how Surrey and parts of the Fraser Valley are able to weather that investor-driven storm, if you will, in competition that we expect to be all over Metro Vancouver in early 2021. Britt, I think that's a wrap. This has been a great session. I'm going to share with all of our viewers and our subscribers, of course, all of the data, all of the information that we've just shared is all down below, so check that out. If you have an opportunity, give us a thumbs up, or of course, hit that subscribe button. You get tons of great stuff that comes with that. Not only do you get the daily newswire, you get a monthly pre-sale pulse, this session live in your inbox. And then of course, we have some of the other great products that flow out throughout the course of the year. This was in a quarterly and in an annual fashion. And then of course, last but not least, unparalleled access to any of our upcoming projects. I want to say thank you for joining. And actually, I should pass it over to Britt. Any closing thoughts?
No, thank you so much for having me. I mean, I hope that this is the first of many to come. We're excited to continue to provide information specifically on the Fraser Valley market. And as Ryan mentioned, if there's any questions, please feel free to reach out. We're excited to continue to talk Fraser Valley real estate.